Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show. Cloudcast Media brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Been doing wonderful things for San Diegans for more than 60 years. We are here at the Jacobs Institute for Innovation and Education at the University of San Diego School of Leadership and Ed Sciences. The Institute is an R&D nonprofit institute powering inclusive innovation and leadership in education. Honored to be have a co-host sitting right next to me, top-notch professional broadcast journalist, now Associate Director of Media Relations for USD, and that's Elena Gomez. How you doing, Elena?
Good. This is fun.
Kidding me? I do this, and again, you'll be hosting the whole show without me, and I think the listeners would love it in that aspect of it. We are so thrilled to have with us Dr. Odesma Dalrymple. She's the co-founder of the STEAM Academy and STEAM Youth and Community Conference, and Associate Professor of Engineering and Education and Director of the Engineering Exchange for Social Justice at USD. How you doing, Odesma?
I am doing great.
You look terrific, and we're so excited about the interview. Joined by the inimitable, the wonderful Perla Myers, and she is turning red, and this is probably the last time she'll let me say these types of things, and she is the co-founder also of the STEAM Academy and STEAM Youth and Community Conference, and the Executive Director of the Jacobs Institute for Innovation and Education at USD Souls. And Perla, thank you so much for everything you've done to put these programs together, and we're in this beautiful lab of yours here, and we can't wait to hear a few minutes from you, but I know you want the conversation to focus on Dr. Dalrymple, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for being here.
Very, very good. I'm going to turn it over to Elena, who's ready to ask some questions.
Yeah, I'm interested in learning more about the background of the STEAM Team Academy. Tell me what that is, what it involves.
Okay, good question. So first, I would say the STEAM Team Academy initiated as the brainchild of three awesome people, myself included. Shameless plug, right? Okay. Perla Myers, Joy Spencer, and myself. When I arrived at USD, I was truly fortunate to engage with these amazing women who became great mentors for me. And I guess being sort of the most junior in career-wise, they just did not make me feel like I was a newbie then, if you know what I'm saying. They treated me with ultimate respect and really valued my contribution. But the three of us got together with this shared interest, wanting to facilitate STEAM opportunities for students in San Diego, particularly with an emphasis on students that are underrepresented in this field. And we all sort of came from different perspectives in the sense of we've all engaged in different types of outreach activities before, and we were trying to find a way to merge those prior experiences, that sort of those passions together and sort of create something new and wonderful. And that's literally, I think, how the STEAM Team Academy started.
Was this you guys having dinner? Was it talking constantly and then finally come up with an idea, or what was the moment that you move forward with it?
You know, I haven't thought about that, but it actually began in this building in Souls. I think I could even visualize the classroom we were in with the whiteboard and sort of just writing up ideas and the excitement that was beginning to build just about, hearing. I remember even when I came to interview and I had an opportunity to meet with Perla and observing her amazing origami artifacts in her space and just like getting the literal goosebumps, because I'm already thinking, oh my gosh, I could combine what she's doing with the things I'm doing, and this is going to be just a magical place for me to be in. And it really has been. USD has been truly, it feels like home for me.
So you are an engineer, correct?
Mm-hmm.
When did you get interested in engineering? Were you a young girl? Were you a young woman? It just came to you 5 minutes ago. I've always wanted to be an engineer. Talk about that.
So my father is, to me, the absolute best math teacher that ever lived. And so he has been a big influence in sort of my trajectory.
Right.
And I suppose maybe he initially planted the idea that there's this thing called engineering that might be a good match for you. I also had the opportunity, I had an uncle who initially sort of was really big into electronics, ended up starting the first cable company in Tobago. And what he would do in the summers is sort of bring all the cousins and nieces, nephews, etc. together and sort of have us engaged in just playing with electronics. So it really started for me with electrical engineering. So electronics was an initial great passion. And I mean, I had started to engage in this way before I'd even started to learn it in school. So by the time I got into my physics class, I mean, I had already known all about, resistors and how to identify them with the color coding. And so it was a space that felt familiar. It was a place of strength, in a sense, for me.
Sure.
I also was really interested in computers and programming. It's funny, I feel if I look back at some of my journals about what I'd want to do in my life, it's always been around creating educational software, which is kind of odd for a young kid, but...
Well, look at the that's why you're on this trajectory. I want to applaud you, and I'd love to get your feedback on this too, Elena. I'm a big fan of the A in STEM, which makes it STEAM, of course.
Yes.
And we all know that the arts, there's a lot of science in the arts, to say the least. Theater and music. There's math, there's engineering, there's science, there's technology. Talk about how important the arts are when you talk about STEM.
Awesome. And I like to sort of preface to say, when I think of the arts, I think more than just sort of the visual arts or performing arts. I literally think of it in terms of the liberal arts.
Right.
And I see the liberal arts as sort of that structure that helps us bring meaning to the value of all of these experiences in our human interaction and lives. And so it really is like it's the human side of STEM. It's the humanization of STEM. It's the application of STEM in a real context, in a real human societal context. So I feel like I can't see one existing without the other.
Right. Can we photocopy that and send it to the 8 billion people in the world so everybody understands the humanization of everybody on this?
Please do.
Elena, I don't know about you, but I'm voting for that. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds great. You explained it perfectly. Back to the STEAM Team Academy a little bit. What brings you the passion to put on the academy? To this minute where you're in that classroom, you're on the whiteboard. Where does that passion come from for all of you? And Perla, you can talk about your own to do this and to make a difference with kids with STEAM.
I think it's appreciating just how one experience can sort of start a trajectory that can make a huge difference for someone. And sort of creating the right ingredients where you help somebody see themselves in a way that they hadn't seen before. It's sort of providing those opportunities, those experiences, that exposure that all of a sudden ignites for them possibilities, and then that excitement brews for them. And then even further than what you thought that you were planting in them, they are going to take that even way beyond what you, as part of, like, you were thinking, we're going to help plant this seed for this young potential. We call them rising stars, and whatever you thought was possible, oh my God, they're going to 100 times beyond that take that particular spark. And so it's just that notion that we can facilitate for others this amazing journey that they can then really take and run with it. It never gets old. It never ceases to to fill you up. Like, I'm brimming when I'm thinking about particular students we've encountered.
Yeah. It's too bad, Elena, that that Dr. Dalrymple is not passionate about these things. It just oozes out of you. But Perla, based on what Elena was saying, your thoughts on that?
So I completely agree. You can see why I love collaborating with this co-conspirator and and my other co-conspirators. I believe that bringing the community together is super important, and this gives us the opportunity to bring the students and also bring the families, bring the community members, and validate what the rising stars and the STEAM superstars are doing. And so the different levels of mentoring that we put together in the academy gives the opportunity for middle school students, high school students, college students,
early career teachers
to be part of this really wonderful experience and gain from it and see themselves.
That makes all the sense in the world. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, just doing wonderful things in the community. For more than 60 years, we are here at the Jacobs Institute for Innovation and Education at USD School of Leadership and Ed Sciences, and the Institute engages in pioneering research and evaluation, developing innovative curricula and technologies, supporting professional learning grounded in learning sciences. Joined by my co-host, Elena Gomez, Associate Director of Media Relations for USD. And Elena, you jump in on this one as well. But talk about, Odesma, how STEM and STEAM is an equalizer when it comes to equity.
Well, it's funny. I feel I almost want to talk about how STEM and STEAM have led in a way to some inequities, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So if I take it particularly from our local San Diego County perspective, we've identified, and then the data really reinforces this, that if we look at the Interstate 8, as sort of this key artery that runs through our county, literally you can see as you look at communities north of the 8 versus south of the 8, and there are lots of rich or some sort of identities that distinguish sort of the characteristics of the communities north of the 8 versus south of the 8, sorry. But unfortunately, that rich set of characteristics have also been identifiers that have indicated the variations in performance in math scores. And then math scores being this gateway into STEM exploration then leads to further disparities that you see in terms of the access and the engagement of communities north versus south of the 8 in STEM professions, in STEM activities, in just sort of STEM engagement. And so with that too, when you think about the way that our societies have developed, where technology and technical knowledge is sort of the currency now that we operate in, you could also understand why you see great disparities in wealth. North versus south, you see great disparities in terms of the types of solutions that these communities are accessed, in terms of how the communities are developed and continue to grow. And so STEAM, even just starting from that math part all the way down to the professions and the work of STEAM, becomes a great divider for just some of the things that we should be really celebrating as differences amongst people. But in fact, they end up becoming these indicators of this enormous disparity.
When we come back from break, I want to chat more about that. I know Elena has some questions in that area and some other things, and we want to chat about how you work with CBOs around the community to maybe break that inequity, so to speak,
That's
or
right.
enhance the equity. I always like to focus on, I like to always focus on the positive, on that aspect. Call me a Pollyanna, which no one in the world would ever do, for that matter. When we come right back with Dr. Odesma Dalrymple, co-founder of the STEAM Academy and STEAM Youth and Community Conference. She's an associate professor of engineering and education and director of the Engineering Exchange for Social Justice, joined by her colleague, Perla Myers, the executive director of the Jacobs Institute for Innovation and Education and the co-founder of STEAM. I'm Drew Schlosberg, honored to be joined by my co-host, Elena Gomez, associate director of media relations for ESD. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing wonderful things in this community for 60 years. We're here at the Jacobs Institute for Innovation and Education at the University of San Diego, joined by my co-host, Elena Gomez. He's the Associate Director of Media Relations for USD. Chatting with us now is Dr. Odesma Dalrymple, co-founder of the STEAM Academy and STEAM Youth and Community Conference and Associate Professor of Engineering and Education, Director of the Engineering Exchange for Social Justice at USD, joined by my friend and colleague and Odesma's and pretty much everybody in this world over there. It's Dr. Perla Myers, Executive Director of the Jacobs Institute and co-founder of the STEAM Academy. Elena?
Yeah, so just touching on what you were talking about, Odesma, what do you think needs to happen, or what are the things that you would recommend to sort of bridge that gap and create more educational equity with STEM? What are some things? I mean, you guys are doing it, right? You're trying to make that difference. But what are you seeing needs to happen?
So multiple things, right? And you're right. There are many things that are already engaged that we are part of and others are part of, I'm sure, even in who've been featured in this program. So maybe let me just start with one in terms of facilitating spaces that affirm the identities of those who are underrepresented currently, and also sort of facilitating more what we call culturally contextualized experiences. So let me start with the affirming spaces part. So one, let's take some of those identities that are more common south of the 8th. You have many more, more migrant communities. You have people of color, you may have low-income communities. And often, again, as I said, they're just not represented in the same way in STEM fields. And so by creating affirming spaces, it's looking at the rich assets that these communities bring and highlighting how those assets, in fact, are part of STEM. They are doing it naturally. They probably may not know it. We may not identify it as such. But we want to start labeling it as such. I'll give one example that really resonated for both of us. In Chicano Park, one of our favorite places, which is a big part of the experience we offer for our STEAM superstars, we happened one day in a tour to observe a muralist creating one of these amazing murals. And what he was doing is he had his sort of smaller version, scaled down version with these beautiful grids. He replicated that grid system on the mural surface and was transferring piece by piece different parts of his design. That is math. That is scaling. That is sophisticated mathematical thinking. He's doing it. in the community. He didn't call it that way. But, we now need to be able to identify it. Let people know, listen, the things you are doing are in fact already STEAM. Let's call it as such. Let's represent it. Let's elevate it. I'm not saying that's the only thing you want, but just show one, it's already part of who we are. It's part of our identity. So we want to affirm these things. We want to highlight them. We want to celebrate them. And we want to use that to encourage more exploration in these areas. So that is one big part of that affirming. How do we kind of continue to represent the things that are already part of who we are? And then the cultural contextualization is, how do we bring the things that matter to our communities as part of what STEAM can actually help facilitate? So in some of these communities, not being very specific now to the San Diego, but you have communities where poor water conditions, or not having lack of access to water, or the high cost of energy, which is probably true for all of our communities. These are the problems that are on the minds of people who live in these communities. How can we show them that STEAM knowledge, STEAM expertise can in fact provide solutions that are relevant to these communities? And so I think it's kind of both pronged in sort of elevating and showing and affirming who we are and that we are capable and already have been doing this for many, many years, for centuries almost. And also showing that it can be used if we continue to develop and nurture this skill set. It can, in fact, continue to be used to help improve our communities. So that's one sort of key area that we try to focus on.
Right. Go ahead, Lynn.
Yeah. So do you think by making STEAM, I'm trying to kind of not paraphrase, but kind of showcase that when you use STEAM and you get excited about it, that those sort of skill sets are the essence of what's needed to solve big problems? Yes. Mm-hmm. Perla, what do you see as far as community and community outreach and reaching out to K through 12 educators? What does that look like as far as the importance of all of those?
It's absolutely important because there are kids that may never be in a space otherwise where they will create a wonderful solution. So if they get to explore the United Nations Goals for Sustainable Development, which we get to play with and think about and identify ways to address those goals, then they might be the ones who come with with some solution that is going to literally change the world for the better. So just reaching out to them, giving them the opportunity to innovate is really crucial.
I want to get back to something that Odesma was saying. Again, you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show with our friends from the Jacobs Institute for Innovation and Education, Dr. Odesma Dalrymple and Dr. Perla Myers, joined by my co-host, Elena Gomez. When you talk about some of these things we've been doing for a long time, for zillions of years, but some of the things are always right in front of our face. One of the things that I'll bore people even more to death than I normally do, but one of the things I've said is what we invented the wheel when 3000 BC, whenever the wheel came, and suitcases were around probably in 3 BC, and we didn't put the wheel on the suitcase to 1970. Are you kidding me? It's the stuff that is really in front of you, right, that we miss. But STEM and STEAM can bring that out, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And how do you teach students that? How do you get them to think about it's the stuff that's right in front of you sometimes that you're missing?
That's a good question. I guess some of it is about providing examples. Right. So you kind of show the trajectory and the pathway that innovations that are so commonplace now we don't even think twice about them or about life pre that particular thing, and begin to sort of show the iterative thinking that may have led to that, the sort of small steps over periods of time, the way multiple people may have contributed to it. I think maybe that also is a challenge with STEM. The narratives that are more common, I feel, are not doing justice in giving accurate stories about how these ideas came about. I think there's this perception, first of all, that the idea generators of STEAM all looked a particular way, or all generally male and white men to that point. which is not accurate, And so I think some of that is also part of how do we counter the narrative around the way that STEAM actually facilitates change. And so it's providing some of those examples, providing people within their own community to tell their own stories. So a big part of what we also do is we always, there's this term about representation matters. I mean, I say it all the time, and sometimes it feels sort of like, oh, gosh, yeah. But it really does matter. You need to see people who look like you, who value the things you do, come from your community, doing these things that you did not initially think were possible.
Right, and I'll take it even a step further. You even need to see people who don't look like you.
True.
That are doing these unbelievable things that, wow, I didn't realize that came from, in that aspect of it. Because basically, if we have our head in the sand like an ostrich, not good in that area. I'll start with you on this one, Perla, and then go over to you, Odesma, and then you jump in as well, of course, always, Elena. What can our listeners do to help support what you are doing, with the Academy and, of course, with the Institute?
They can help dispel misconceptions that that abound around us. That there are certain people, certain types of spaces that are STEM spaces and STEAM spaces. So definitely help with that.
Yeah, Odesma?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Telling stories, even telling stories of failure. I think sometimes we seem to want to hide the stories of failure, and failure sometimes become one of the best ways for people to learn. And so let's share the stories of failure. Let's share the stories of how people overcame those failures. They continue to use that failure as a stepping stone for continued growth. Let's just show stories that represent a diverse set of people who have, in fact, been engaged in STEM. So that certainly is one way. We are always, of course, looking for funders. And so we would love to be able to endow the STEAM Academy so that we can be assured that these types of experiences will continue to be available to students for, as long as it's necessary. Right now, we've been really fortunate to have funding that has come from the San Diego Foundation for the past, I think, almost 2 to 3 years. Through USD's own strategic initiative program. And then, of course, we've had a lot of donors who, put sometimes small amounts, sometimes larger amounts, but every little cent seriously makes a difference. But we are hoping that we can get to that point where we can have an endowment that allows these opportunities to just continue to sustain for students.
No, it's good.
Way beyond us.
Yeah, absolutely. Elena, any final comments?
No, this was great. Thank you for all you're doing in our communities. It's
without question. So, Odesma, where can they get a hold of you? What's the best email address?
Sure. I always say, you think of me, Odesma, where I'm at San Diego, and what am I into? Education.edu. So Odesma at sandiego.edu is a great way to make that initial contact. And then, let's just have conversations. I think one of the other key pieces I wanted to share too is one of the things I think we believe is a real critical part of the kind of programming we do is that we try to engage the whole family. So it's not just about the students, it's about their parents, their grandparents, their young cousins or sisters. I mean, we want the whole family engaged in this process. Because that's what we're going to need. We're going to need the whole community to sort of move together on this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Perla, any final comments?
Thank you very much for speaking with us, and let's get that STEAM out there for everyone to have access.
Yeah, and as we mentioned before, we'd love to have some of those students that have benefited from what you folks are doing on the air. It's always great to see the customers that the end result of all the hard work you are doing. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, continuing to do great things for San Diego for the last 60 years. We're here at the Jacobs Institute of Innovation at the USD School of Leadership and Sciences. Been thrilled to chat with Dr. Odesma Dalrymple co-founder of the STEAM Academy and STEAM Youth and Community Conference, joined by her colleague, Dr. Perla Myers, Executive Director of the Jacobs Institute for Innovation Education, and, of course, be remiss if I didn't give a high five to my co-host, Elena Gomez, Associate Director of Media Relations for USD. Hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.